Hey, Becky.
Hi. I was just imagining her with a big S, like underneath her shirt, like if she had pulled
Seriously,
out total superwoman.
there is no
Hey,
doubt a cape
yeah,
somewhere.
friend, it's good to be here.
Becky Endicott. Hey, like we're now into our third hour of hosting something. This is the stuff that you're supposed to be doing.
I have to tell you, I've tuned in for much of it, and I have taken so many notes, and I have learned so much. So I hope everybody else in the audience is getting as much as I have out of it.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for making time for us and for joining this. We're having a blast. We got all the adrenaline and caffeine rolling through us at this point. So, so Becky, the We're for Good team has such a broad view of social impact and the social impact community. We have a collaboration going on around this second beacon that we're talking about, right? Engage or think dimensionally. Like how and why does that show up for you, and why now?
Okay, I'm so glad you brought this up because this is one of our trends for this year. If anybody's ever spent any time in the We Are for Good community, we unpack 9 trends that are not tethered to any tech or selling anything. We just want you to know what's going on in the world, the trends that are there for seizing it. And I got to give you credit, Justin, because you and Ronnie brought this trend to our attention last year, and we started diving into the data and sort of the psychographics of it. And it was like, so how do we engage and think dimensionally? This is this concept about understanding the complexity of donors' needs. And I have to say, you were just talking about this with your Starbucks example. And I have to tell you, I'm one of those Starbucks people. I use my app every morning when I go. I know my baristas, they give me the pup cup, like they steward me so well. But even the app has started to engage me dimensionally. They know my drink. They preempt it. They tell me when it's in progress. I get updates when it's done. Like, this is the way of the world. And it's like, how do we take this concept of personalization and looking at engagement signals and then figuring out how to move our donors, not just our donors, we call them believers, people who are lurking on the edges and the fringes of our missions. How do we activate them into our mission? And not just for giving, but in other ways that we know they can move the movement forward with what they have, with their story, with their network, with their volunteer hours, with whatever they can bring. And so, Justin, like, I got to give you some props because you really dove into this. And I feel like you set the umbrella really well because it's about engaging with people on a more personal level. It's no longer optional to start to get personalized. It is absolutely the thing that cuts through because today's donors are going to demand that we have this deeper approach to engagement that recognizes their interest, their motivations, their behaviors, and the values that they connect to the cause. And so the data becomes absolutely paramount. I'm from Oklahoma. I'm going to say data, not data. I'm going to say gala, not gala. So, because we're just a little hickish down here. But I really want people to know that the more data points you can add, the more possibilities emerge. And then we start to engage dimensionally. And I don't want people to get overwhelmed by this concept because it makes you feel kind of like you have to be looking at everything and you have to be testing everything all the time and you have to be omni-channel. And I say, just start really slow. Just start with a couple of key points. And if you want me to, I don't know how far I'm off the rails already. I'm giving
credit. Go, listen, preach.
Yes, but here's a couple of places like I want you to start. First, is your database clean? No, probably not. None of us were. Any of us that worked at nonprofit, it probably wasn't. But this is a good place to start. And how are we looking at the data? And I'm not just talking about the one metric that we've all been taught to analyze, which is how much have they given? That is one singular data point that doesn't say very much about engagement. So segmentation is going to be absolutely key. Yes, we're going to segment donors based on donation history, frequency of giving, areas of interest, these kind of things, but we want to tailor that into their message. We want to track more than just the donation patterns. We want to monitor those engagement metrics. And I think some of the things, Justin, that I'm seeing that people miss is the engagement signals that they're not even seeing. Like, they'll look at an event and say, oh, these are the donors that bought something at our silent auction. But I'm looking at like City of Hope out in LA. I think they're a great case study. I mean, they watch who bids, they watch how many times they bid, they watch who gets up, they watch who signs, who fills out, just a clean donation. They watch the way that their attendees move through the crowd and interact with the entire event. And then they built an entire cultivation strategy on how do I start to connect with those engagement signals. And I think it's just a different way that we need to orient our brains. And it's about, we need to be asking more questions. Are you building in surveys and feedback into the way that you interface with your community? Are you employing A/B testing? This message with this photo and this message with this photo, or this prompt on a certain social media. All of these things are going to help you understand your donors' behaviors and their interests so much more. And the last thing I just want to say on this is that values are the connective tissue that are bringing all of us together. Like in an era where we don't know what's real on, like in the media, when you value align with someone and you say, okay, we're both like I would say this about We Are for Good and RKD Group, like we're partners this year in this trend series. And it's like, it started with trust. It started with everyone matters. Like we saw that in your company. And so we wanted to come over and be a part of partnership. Your donors are exactly the same ways. So lift those values into your content. It's going to be a magnet to people who want to come into a community of shared values.
A few things that you hit on there, because there were about a gajillion, but just a couple.
Breathe, did I?
No, you didn't. Someone pulled the string, and there goes Becky, and I love every bit of it. The opportunity to lean into personalization that's not gimmicky, I think is there for the taking.
For sure.
We posted a series of silly parody videos a year ago, and one of them was about this customer-centric cafe where the coffee shop barista only leverages a small piece of information in terms of relating to the customer and still constantly gets it wrong. And the way that the customer always feels is not seen. And that's not what we want. We don't want this to be like gimmicky, static connection with our constituents, with our believers. And then the second part, which may be a bigger piece that you're getting at here, Becky, is we tend to be stuck in lagging indicators versus look at leading indicators.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Keep going with that, because I think this is a really good point.
Well, I mean, you hit it, like City of Hope. Like it's not just about the people who attended the event or about the people who ended up winning the auction or made the gift through mobile by scanning the QR code. It's about those that bid and didn't win. Right? It's the leading indicators towards someone's affinity versus the lagging indicators. And I do think that we, in the midst of our compassion fatigue in our purpose-filled space, that many times we can turn things into lagging indicators like best practices and benchmarks and all of the basic metrics, and lose out on the chance to be more dynamic in how we connect with individuals.
I 100% agree with you. I just think like the era of vanity metrics is kind of behind us. And I think what's real is the behavior of these individuals who may not even be donating to you yet. They are waiting to be converted because they're waiting for whatever the activation piece is, that sense of belonging, that sense of, oh, these are my people, or, oh, I actually think I can be a part of moving whatever this is forward in the way that I'm able to do that through a donation, through I'm going to share the story, I'm going to start a peer-to-peer fundraiser, whatever it is. I think that you are so right. And I think we just have to go deeper into that data. And I just think this is the year for prospect management too. Like I want to give shout outs to our prospect management folks out there who have been beating this drumbeat for a really long time. And I think donor relations sees these signals really, really well because they're constantly engaging. So I think just everyone's understanding that this is a team effort to engage dimensionally, because we're all going to see engagement points in different ways in the different lanes that we sit in, and having collective conversation about what we're seeing and trying stuff has got to be kind of the basis of where we're moving forward this year.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that it's easy sometimes to get overwhelmed by like the complexity of thinking and engaging dimensionally. There's so many data points out there. Like, what do we choose? What do we use? So what's your guidance to someone who might be overwhelmed by all of this? How do they get started?
If I were going to say one thing, let's start with something really basic, like maybe email. Who's opening your email consistently? Who's clicking on it? Who's engaging with your content? I think email is something really easy to watch. I mean, if you've got MailChimp, we got ConvertKit, we've got, there's a lot of systems out there that can show you these engagement metrics. So I would say start there. And then if you see certain individuals who are consistently opening it, consistently engaging with it, they're doing the click-through links, P.S., that is a rabid fan. They are raising their hand. They are asking to be activated in very unique ways. And I would say, if it were me, but keep in mind, I'm a writer and a storyteller, I would email them if that's their medium. And I would just say, hey, I want to thank you for the way that you keep showing up for our mission. I notice how you're absorbing the content. I would love to hear your story. How did you find us? How did you get to know us? Boom, you have a story, a personalized testimony, and two, somebody really feels seen. And we can figure out through that story what lane they need to be pointed in. It may not even be email. They may be a super influencer on LinkedIn and we don't even know it, but that is a signal that you have an ambassador there. I mean, we call them rabid fans, and you need to activate the one. And I guarantee you, if you built in a habit of maybe reaching out and looking at that data point and collectively sharing the work of that engagement, your retention is going to go through the roof, and your engagement metrics are also going to start to expand as those people bring more people into the fold.
I love what you said. I love the aspect of email. I'm going to take it to another type of engagement. So you mentioned CHLA or City of Hope earlier.
Yeah,
City of Hope.
Mm-hmm.
To brag on another health nonprofit, Mayo Clinic. And here's why I think health organizations are so interesting. Historically, health organizations have had to climb and fight their way in a lot of areas.
Decade in one of them. I feel this. Yes.
Yes. So they don't have. Oftentimes, they don't have some of the soft, fuzzy feeling animals that other causes have, or the environment. Some of the other cause sectors. So healthcare they have to fight for innovation in a lot of different ways. Mayo Clinic has a unique position within their development department. Think of it like a concierge. And so think of it as though there are prospect management, as you said. There are individuals who their job is not to secure a gift. Their job is to get to know the donor so that they can help navigate and hand that prospective donor, to the right gift officer to connect them with the right aspect of Mayo's mission. And I find that to be something that if we can bottle that up, and if we can find a way to apply that to so many other versions of annual fund giving or undesignated giving, that we can unlock more rabid fandom because people feel seen and heard, just like you said about acknowledging someone's email habits.
Yeah, I think that is such a brilliant example. Mayo is like the OG of like trying stuff. Clearly, I mean, their whole culture is about innovation and taking on the biggest diseases. I'll throw one more out for you guys. Fleece and Thank You does an incredible job of empowering their end users with videos. They purchase blankets for kids that have cancer. Started out in Michigan, and all the hospitals in Michigan. Now it's worldwide. The person gets to see the person who got their video, and there's a connectivity there. And guess what? They have 12 different entry points for their donor journeys of how people come in. If you come in through this way, you're going to get a certain engagement cycle over here. If you come in through email, if you come through social media on LinkedIn, and all of a sudden having those automations set up, one, because they're a very small little nonprofit, it's doing so much work and doing so much engagement without your finger even being on there. So I think there are ways to automate it, because I speak back to the overwhelm, Kate. We don't want people to feel overwhelmed in this. We want you to try some stuff. But I do think, like you all at RKD Group, you guys have such great case studies. I know you sent us a couple, and we're going to talk about this more deeply on the podcast coming up. But yeah, I just love this topic, and I just want to empower people to know that it's totally tenable and there for the taking.
We would strongly encourage folks to check out the We Are for Good community and to check out the Trend series. And Becky and John go, I would say, across the landscape of opportunities for you to lean in to various aspects of how to be more present in the way that you nonprofit this year, right?
Totally. I just think, the creator economy is upon us. It's about to be a $2 trillion business. People are trusting their influencers. Did you see this? Like the new makeup sector has now been dominated by influencers more than celebrities. And so we're seeing this shift, and it's like anybody can lean into what they're passionate about. Anybody can lean into the movement that they care about. Let's make the case that it's yours. That's what I'm thinking.
And because I know that we both have adolescent to teen daughters, like we both know firsthand
Totally
how the creator economy influences all of us, not just, my 13-year-old, but it influences all of us in terms of the way that we think, the way that we absorb information. And so, yes, absolutely agree. A part of thinking dimensionally, I think, is, to your point, engaging dimensionally and being comfortable in being you. So
I tell you, the day that my daughter told me I do not want any more Nike sweatshirts, I want One Tree Planted sweatshirts, I want Plastic Ocean sweatshirts, because I want people to know I'm an environmentalist and I want them to ask me about it. Giving his identity was blown for me. And so I do think that was an engagement signal, and just absolutely fascinating. They're there. You just have to open our eyes in brand new ways to find them.
That's amazing.
You guys are so great. I love hanging out with you. Thanks for the creative energy. The synapses are flowing right now, and I feel good about it.
The synapses are flowing. We're having a blast. We really appreciate you, Becky, and appreciate our partnership, and appreciate the chance to have you chat with us today.
Oh, absolutely. So good to see you guys. Oh, hey, Tim Sarantonio.
Hello.
Combo on the horizon for you guys. Take care.